This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
When you need to send the perfect rose bouquet, only one brand can say they've been the floral authority for 50 years. 1-800-Flowers. Why should you trust 1-800-Flowers? They hand-select every stem to ensure top quality. And with nationwide delivery, smiles and satisfaction are 100% guaranteed. And right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses, we'll double it at no extra cost. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Order today at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
This episode is about narrative power, not policy, not programs, but art. Art as a tool to change how Chicago's Black children and fathers see themselves and are seen by the world. And Richard McNeil is literally repainting the story of Black boyhood in Chicago, one mural at a time. Hey, welcome to the Black Fathers Pause podcast. I'm Dr. Alvin Thomas, clinical psychologist and associate professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I study fathers and their children. But here's the thing. We don't hear enough real conversations about Black fathers, about what they're building, what they're dealing with, what they actually believe. That's what we're doing here. Voices from the Second City, Black Fathers Building Tomorrow, is all about real fathers, real stories, real impact in Chicago. Whether you're a father, a parent, someone who cares about family and community, stick around. This conversation is for you. Let's go. Richard McNeil is a Chicago-based artist, creative activist, and storyteller, and is on a mission to change how Black children, especially Black boys, see themselves. Through his Heroes Within art series, McNeil documents and celebrates Chicago's children in their everyday moments of thriving, growing, and heroism. Rather than the usual deficit narratives that dominate the media about Black youth, McNeil's art says, you are already powerful. You are already a hero. He's currently collaborating with the Urban Male Network to create murals across Chicago that make Black boys visible in positive, aspirational, authentic light. His work isn't hanging in galleries. It's on walls where children walk past it every day, seeing themselves reflected back as worthy, capable, heroic. McNeil embodies a radical truth. The most revolutionary act is helping people see their own greatness. Thank you so much, Richard, for joining us today.
Yeah, appreciate you for having me, man. Wish we could have been outside in the.
I know. So we were really trying to join Richard in his in one of his outside settings while he was painting, but the tech just was not allowing for it. But you will get a chance to see some of. I'll make sure you get a chance to see some of Richard's art showcased here, and of course also share with you some clips of his art in the show notes. So today we're talking about the stories of building men up one generation at a time. Richard, I know that we're talking about just how art changes what is possible. And I know your own journey into art is part of that story as well. So take us back a little bit to that moment when you realized, one, that you needed to do this work through art, and two, that it was something that you could actually accomplish.
So I'm gonna flip it.
Mm-hmm.
So the part where I knew that I could accomplish
Okay.
it. So I used to be able to draw when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing mainly just sketches of like superheroes and things that I saw when I was young. And my mom kind of noticed that I had a gift. So she really homed in on it. It wasn't nothing that I was like super excited about, even though I used to love to draw. It
Right.
wasn't nothing that was like, I grew up saying that I wanted to be an artist. But she focused in on that. She sewed into it. She brought me my first easel table,
Mm.
my first portfolio book, my pencils, and everything that I needed in order to draw. But as I got older, life happens.
Mhm.
We say or do something in our younger phases, but as we go through being older, we kind of lose track of certain things that we like to do,
Mhm.
love to
Mhm.
do, or we're connected to. So as I got older, um, I never thought about being like, I forgot I was able to draw. I
Right.
forgot that I loved, I couldn't even say that I loved art when I was a kid. I just liked to draw.
Right.
But as I got older, um, I wanted to be a lawyer, so I went to college, tried to get my criminal justice degree, and hear me when I say a try, because I did not graduate college. I dropped out. I got out of
Right.
there. It wasn't for me. And this is great because later on, as we'll talk, we'll figure out that everybody has their own way in
Yeah.
life. We all don't have the same journey,
Right.
and my journey looks different from somebody else's journey. So I got older, was trying to do everything but art.
Mm.
Art never dropped in my mind. Being an artist never dropped in my mind. Selling paintings never dropped in my mind. Being on the podcast talking about art never dropped in my
Right.
mind. I ended up going to a church here in Chicago, called New Life Covenant Southeast, where Pastor Hannah is the pastor.
Mhm.
And in my days and years of going to that church, God began to like move me in different places and
Right.
shift me in front of different people. And one day I got in front of a guy and his wife named Imani and Shamari.
Mhm.
Imani is the wife, Shamari is the husband, and we just had a conversation one day about my life. At that point in time, bro, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Um, I knew that I had came from the streets, drug dealing, gang banging. I was lost, and I did not know where to go.
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do. All I knew God because my grandmother and my mother had installed that into me
Right.
real, real heavy. So I ended up just going to church. But when I sat with them, two things. She began to call me Richie Rich.
Hmm.
And I used to ask her, like, why do you always call me Richie Rich? I know my name is Richard,
Right.
but why do you call me that? And she said, well, most of the time what I call people, they become.
Mm.
And she has this gift that God has given her to name things that individuals will become. I've got a friend that I'm doing through Urban Male Network, which is Dr. Marlon Haywood.
Right.
She used to call him Marlon Speaks,
Mm.
and he ended up becoming that brand, Marlon Speaks, where he was getting flown out across the world to talk to young men,
Right.
to speak to them. So, long story short, man, we were in Starbucks. We had a conversation, and when that conversation ended, her husband pulled me to the side. He said, "Man, I feel like the Lord is telling me He wants you to grab a paintbrush. He has something that He wants to show you."
Right.
And I looked at him. I said, okay. I mean, if you said God told you that,
Right.
then
Right.
I want to let this be the first time I listen to the Lord. Um, in my mid 30s.
Right.
I'm 43 now. So I was in my early 30s, I believe, because I've only been painting now for like 12 years, 13 years at the most. So that is how I knew that I could do art when I was a
Mm.
kid. But this is how I came into it as I got older.
Right.
So now I paint for a living. I have a business entitled Richie Rich Arts, EST LLC. It's just of the arts. It's everything arts, all things creativity. Um, I do murals. This is something new. Now starting to do like these murals and things, because I'm known for just painting on
Right.
canvases, which is more comfortable for me. But when you have a gift that don't belong to you, you don't control how you get to use it. So I'm being stretched in that area. So now I'm doing murals. I've done playgrounds. I've done basketball courts. Man, I never thought about this being a part of my life.
Mm.
I still go to sleep and wake up sometimes and be like, okay, I'm finna do art today.
Right. So I remember when I was searching, I was looking you up. I was searching for content about you and more information so I can get some background. And I came across the Richie Rich. I was like, that's not him. His name is Richard. When I finally looked through it, I was like, oh, that is him. I was like,
Yeah.
why is he calling himself Richie Rich? There must be some kind of it must be some kind of moniker. So it's interesting to hear that that is where that name came from. That
Yeah.
first speaking of life into that gift. That is really really awesome. So what what do you hope to accomplish with art in Chicago with just the social movements that are happening now? What do you hope to see happen? What do you hope to accomplish?
With my art, man, it's very simple. I hope to accomplish this space of encouraging individuals. I hope to brighten the day of some certain people who potentially lay eyes on my art. But I also want to my art to have people question themselves, look at themselves differently. When you see my art, can you see you? You see a hero piece, do you see yourself with the mask on? I think that nowadays, as we grow up, we see ourselves less than based on what our social environment looks like and what our normal environment looks like. We kind of take on that mask of where we are in life and what we're going through and what's around us. So I hope that when I do art, somebody walks by, buys a piece. I hope that it inspires. I hope that it breaks the spirit of sadness and it encourages and makes people feel good about themselves. That's why if you see a lot of my work, it's full of colors in the background.
Yeah.
Because I know colors is one thing that creates a kind of like excitement for the eyes, that then translates to the mind and the body, that will make you move and think differently when you see it. I've come across a couple of people who've seen my art, and just to watch their whole spirit light up, and then they are engaged, they're excited, and they've got questions. I would like to say that the art is accomplishing exactly what I wanted to accomplish.
So I hear you use the motif, the recurring image of the mask. And I almost want to go into a little bit of a philosophical conversation with you about that motif of the mask. The mask is often worn by the superhero, but the mask can also be worn by the villain. The mask some sometimes is a way to hide, a way to cover, a way to bury, a way to deny identity. So, for example, we saw it in the was it the Three Musketeers or the Count of Montague? Where, well, sorry, no, that's not the story. The Man with the Iron Mask. So it can be used as a way to silence. How are you using the mask as you're talking about it in the art? How are you using the mask? What's the story for the mask?
So if you potentially, when I send you some pictures, you'll see I have different masks.
Okay.
Um, each mask has a story
Mm.
uh, behind it. So I do cubism as well. Not in my fairly large photos, like murals, you won't see it because I'm not able to add certain things into those masks. But when you see my masks that are on canvas, some of them have things that I grew up around. And it's my way to bring an older individual back into the space that we grew up in. So I have where I did like a mask with penny candy wrappers, now later wrappers. I've done some with the 25% tater chip bags. And it's all about, for me, was trying to remind myself of how I grew up. I remember when chips were 25 cents. I remember when we used to have oodles and noodles, and they were like, so I have a piece with a guy with with a boy with a oodle and noodle mask on. And the way that you just responded, right? Because that's something that brings us back to who we truly are.
Right.
It makes me realize where I've come from to where I am now. So I use the mask really to bring individuals into a space in their life that they may have forgotten. Um, So this is why I go out and I look at things. I'm 43, so I try to find the things that I grew up off of.
Right.
Next, I'm gonna do comic book strips, bazooka gum wrappers.
Yes.
Um, these things make us. We'll get a joy inside. Like,
Right.
oh, I remember when I used to eat those. Where did y'all get those from? So that's the use of my mask right now. Too. Also, when you see an individual that's a superhero with a mask on, right? Sometimes they feel that they have to cover their face up because they don't think that they will be accepted
Mm.
in certain communities or in certain
Mhm.
spaces, or they just don't want everybody to know, hey, I'm the person that will
Right.
potentially save the day.
Right.
Um, some heroes are better left unknown than they are known,
Yeah.
so
So even as you were talking about the different inspirations for the mask coming out of your childhood, and you were mentioning Bazooka Gum and Hubba Bubba and Bubblicious and O. Henry, like I couldn't help but smile because
yeah.
so without even seeing your art, just hearing some of the inspiration for your art, it was already bringing joy to me. So it'd be great, I think, once the audience get a chance to see some of that. I was thinking about as you were talking about the superhero who dons the mask because it is better for the superhero not to be seen.
Yeah.
And at least what I'm taking from that is that sometimes the mission is so big, it's much bigger than us, and it can sometimes be held back if we become the thing. So I think, for example, in some cases, some people would say that the civil rights movement became so entrenched in specific names that it did not have the same revolutionary strength going forward as it did when those people were alive. So people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, those were the big names that drove it, and people followed those big names. But once those big names disappeared physically, it seemed as if the movement itself lost some traction or lost something. And so maybe sometimes superheroes wear those masks to prevent that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, even if you really want to know something, the more a hero is revealed, the more he's hated.
Mm,
Um, and I believe that you know, and this is just me when I look at because I'm a big Marvel action
right,
type of
right,
dude.
right. Yeah.
Um,
That's kind of where my mind went as well.
yeah, I believe that if you really pay attention to some of those superheroes, right, most of them did not reveal because when they were, or let's just say they didn't have the mask on,
Mm-hmm.
the talking that they would hear in the background would be one of an individual not liking what the superhero does or one love the superhero, but you've got this mixed crowd. So I believe that sometimes it's okay not to be seen as the hero. Everybody, just because you're a hero doesn't mean you need to be known. Sometimes blessings come from individuals we have no idea where they're coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that it's okay not to always be seen and always be known, but you have a duty to do something that God has called you to do, right? I can do art. I don't have to sign it, but people will know that it's beautiful art.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't always have to be seen as, oh, he's the artist that painted it. I would rather you see the art than you see me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the art is what does the work, not
The
you.
art is the art is the main focus.
You're just a medium for the art.
I'm just a vessel for the art.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Richard. So, explain to us a little bit about the Heroes Within series. What's the concept and what are you hoping to accomplish?
So so I work or have worked in CPS, Chicago Public School settings, and I do a lot of my work
Right.
in alternative high schools. But whether I'm in alternative high schools or you're just in a regular CPS school, you kind of still see the same issues. But some issues that I noticed were um, I saw young men and women, and I just don't want to subject let me say this, my Heroes Within is not just
Right.
subjected to boys. Um, but in this series where I'm doing for Urban Male Network, it is because they deal with an all
Right.
male mentoring program. But what I noticed was that individuals who may have been 16 and let's say to like 21, we're kind of doing a lot of things outside of being a kid, which was having to work at a young age, taking their siblings to school, because their mom or their father either were not present or could not do it. I kind of witnessed young men and women saving the day in their own home versus being saved in their home. Um, so I began to think as an artist, how could I capture that space? And I began to think about young men and women with
Mm,
superhero mask on. And I came up with a title called Hero Within. And the within part is basically letting an individual know that there is a hero inside of you. And the only way that that hero will ever get out is if you allow it to get out. But the problem that we face now is a lot of
right.
young people don't know that they're heroes. Some of them
Yeah.
think they're the villain.
Yeah.
Some of them like being the villain. Some of them don't want to save or don't know they have the ability to save a day. But when you come into encounter with an individual like myself and hopefully like you and other young black men that I know and women, we want to expose to them that they are a hero. So I began to create small works of young men, women with the superhero mask on, just to depict that I believe that
Mhm.
the this generation deals with way more than what I had to deal with when I was growing up. It's a much more of a fight to live in this day and age, than it was to live back when I was growing up. So I
Right.
look at them as heroes. You know, the more that anytime that you can get up and come to school every day in a community that's known for drugs, that's known for killing, that's known for police officers with racial depiction and looking at individuals a certain way. When you
Mhm.
can make it in a house that's particularly
Right.
you living in hell, you're a hero. You've made it and done some things that they did not count on you doing. So I took that along with again my mask, um, kind of
Mhm.
being a representation of me as a kid growing up and trying to bring other older individuals back into their childhood memories. I kind of put both of those together in death.
Can you tell us like a story of a specific child? Don't necessarily need to mention their name or specific details, but a specific child so we can get a chance to see how you help them see that hero within, or maybe how you
Um,
saw it for yourself.
I mean, so I witnessed
Mhm.
a young boy at my school, and I would notice that he would come in late a lot. And you know, I'm
Mhm.
big on being on time. Punctuality is something that I try to get most of my students to adhere by. But I noticed that he kept coming in late. And one day I asked him, I say, man, why are you always late? And he looked at me and he said, man, Mr. McNeil, I got to take my siblings to school before I can get to school. And I sat with that for a moment. And a part of me kind of like felt a certain way because I was ready to be the accuser of an individual who was not trying to take his everyday life
Mm.
serious with coming to school. So I was ready to
Right.
bang the gavel, you know what I'm saying, and tell him, man, you need to do better. You know, you need to,
Right.
as we would normally do, judge an individual without
Right.
knowing the cape that they got on, even though you don't see it. So when I noticed that, you know, I waited till like after school and, you know, we just had a simple talk. And I encouraged him to continue to be the individual that he's being. You know, I want to apologize for not knowing what it is that he was doing and being the individual that he is
Mm-hmm.
to his siblings.
Mm-hmm.
You a hero to them, bro. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they counting on
Yep.
you to get them up in the morning. They counting on you to make they their he said he has
Mm.
to feed them in the morning and then he has to prepare them for school.
Mm.
Not only that, drop them off. So I just began to encourage him, like, hey, listen, man, you
Right.
doing something I never had to do, you know. And I want to tell you from this day forth, bro, that I am proud of you for not just coming to school, but for also doing and being the big brother to your sisters and to your little brothers. So that was my encounter with a hero. that was not my age. That was not on marble. That wasn't seen on the big screen. This young man lives on the south side of Chicago in Roseland. And anybody that knows Roseland already knows it's not easy to
Right.
walk up and down Roseland. But here this young man is waking up early, not only getting himself together, not only feeding himself, but also doing the same for his siblings, and then coming to school, and then have to leave school to go pick them back up and make sure that they eat, make sure that they get what they need, and then start all over the next day. It's
And
amazing
how
to me,
old
if
is
you
this
ask.
kid?
I think he was
Still,
17,
still
18.
a teenager.
But to me, those are your
Yeah.
main, still a teenager. And those are the times that you
Yeah.
really need to be focusing in some areas concerning you
Yeah.
becoming a young adult, you know? But I
Right.
never asked where his mother was. I never asked why he had to drop them off
Yeah.
because that's not my business. You know, I do know that I was encouraged, but
Yeah.
I had to encourage him as well, just to keep doing what he normally
And
do, you know?
I suspect that he probably needed to hear that. You have no idea how burdened he may have already been feeling, how bad he might have already been feeling
Yeah,
coming to school late. He's trying to get there early. I know he's trying to get there early, and he may not necessarily have needed to explain his situation to somebody else. He just needed somebody to see
yeah,
him, to see what he's doing,
yeah,
and to validate it, and to say it's meaningful, and you're doing the right thing. You're doing good work. Uh, and
yeah,
I think of all of the many children across Chicago who might be in similar situations or in worse situations, who are not being seen. As you're doing the Heroes Within series, do you see fathers anywhere in that series, or is it just on kids?
No, I think that with this Heroes Within series, it's going to be. At first I wanted to cut it and limit it because in the art world,
Right.
the lesser the better. But I want to extend that not just to children, but to also parents, fathers, mothers. You know what I mean? Look at the single mother.
Right.
Look at the single father. Look at the mother and the father that may be in a house together. So I am working on some heroes within for our older individuals. I actually just took a picture of a young man. I was out helping my buddy who has a landscaping business, and we were on 79th Street. And I saw this guy on a bike,
Mm-hmm.
like a little moped bike. And I said, "Hey, do me a favor, stop, cross your arms, and just like
Mm-hmm.
stare in the camera." I told him what I did, but it dawned on me. His mask won't be on his face, it'll be on the ground. So it'll almost be like he's
Mm.
revealing to his community that I am the hero. And so this is just
Right.
another vision that God gave me. And we're gonna do these mask on, mask off series, um, and kind of find out why would the mask be on, and then what makes
That
the mask
sounds,
come
yeah.
off. Some people may be tired of being the hero. I
Yeah.
need to be
And
saved at the moment.
the mask can be heavy
Yeah.
sometimes.
Or
Yeah.
the mask can be a weight. Yeah,
Yeah.
because now everybody counting on you. Oh, where's such and such? We know they could say today, but they don't know. You just got beat up on the last adventure you just
Yeah.
did. You need time to
Yeah.
heal correctly.
Just like
So
just like that
it's a lot that can go into
17 year
it.
old you were just talking about. Uh, it can become so normalized that he's going to do all of these things that while he's trying to do homework or think of the college prep class that they're talking about at his school or college counseling, he's having to think of what are my siblings going to eat tonight. One of my little
Yep.
brother looks like he's coming down with a cold. How am I going to get medication for him while he's trying to live his regular life? That mask, that weight can
Yeah.
become very, very heavy. Thank you so much for sharing that. That really is powerful. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing some of these pieces. So why? I know you're working with Urban Mail Network. Why murals? I think there was a very interesting, very utilitarian story about the mural that you were going to start with the Urban Mail Network. But tell us a little bit like why murals? Why public art? Why not put some stuff in frames and put it in a museum or in an art gallery?
Well, one thing we have to know is every young man or woman
True.
is not going to hit an art gallery. You have some that may never step foot in an art gallery. Um, Community art speaks volume to the community.
Mm-hmm.
We call it an uplift. We say if we can put a piece of beautiful art in the community, maybe that art can
Mm-hmm.
inspire the community. And what if an individual drives past this house and they see this mural of young black men with hero masks on? What does that do to the community and the
Mm-hmm.
individual that walks past and see it? I think that we become common and used to boxing up
Mm.
paintings and putting them in frames and then throwing them into an art gallery. At
Right.
this point, it's all about money because that's what the
Right.
gallery provides to you. But when you say, I want to do something in a community, you're doing something that you live in yourself. And then you're doing something that individuals in your age bracket and under you live in as well. I've had my fun
Mm-hmm.
with galleries. I don't really like galleries in the first place. Uh,
Mm.
I stay away from galleries. I'm allergic to art galleries. Um, so an art gallery is going
Right.
to be hard to see my work unless the individual who has an art gallery
Mm.
is a stand-up individual. If a lot of people don't know,
Mm.
man, art galleries are robbers
Yeah.
with masks.
Yep.
Um, so they want half of what you make and they don't want to
Right.
share you with anybody. They don't want you to post your paintings. They don't want you to go
Mm.
out and get your own. They want
Yep.
all the money to come through their hands so that they can take half of what you make and not really give you
Right.
all of the praise that you deserve. And I ran into that. So, you know, right now my goal is to become an international artist and
Mm.
that's have art around the world. So now God is starting that. It has to start within my own city and my own community. And it's starting fast, and I don't know how the heck it's
You just
happening, but
follow
it's
it.
starting to happen. So yeah, I just have to pray for the knowledge and the wisdom that goes with the space and the area that he wants to take me into. Because you don't want to be took into a space, you don't want to be taken into a space that your
Mm.
character
I
can't
like that.
keep up with. And this is something that my, Pastor Hannah has drilled into us. You know, don't let your gift take you to a space where your
Mm.
character can't keep you. So, we're working on character. I'm working on character as I work on characters in art spaces and stuff like that. So, that's my whole, and
Yeah.
I hope I'm answering this in the right
Yeah.
tone for an individual to get what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, um, the time is out for just
Right.
doing any type of art. Art must be meaningful. Art has a story, and people connect to stories. Um, One thing, I have a mentor named Abiola Ekintola, who is an international artist. And he told me every time you do an art piece, you must
Mm.
put a story to it. How else will you expect people to connect to your art? And sometimes we think art is just about selling. No, art is a language that we don't even know everybody speaks.
Right.
They just have to see it. So the moment you drop a piece of art in the community, that's a new language that just got broadcast. So what we are hoping is when we drop these four pieces off in the South Side at Inglewood, that individuals will be encouraged. We pray that it would
Right.
beautify the community and it would make them want to keep their community beautiful. We pray that it will pull a young man out of a gutter and into a safe space. We want people to get up and take pictures with the art piece and selfies and broadcast it across social media so that a community now is notified or gets seen as a community and not just a neighborhood,
That
you
that would
know?
sound great. So you've not released any of the four murals yet.
Four murals have not been released. They are. I'm currently working on them. I'm almost done with my second mural. Be going into my third one, hopefully by the end of this week. And we want to. We're going to do a great unveiling of the art pieces. It's going to be on 6500 South Carpenter Street. Is where we're going to unveil it. Excuse me. So my goal is to, as an artist, hurry up and paint and get my client these art pieces as soon as possible. They should have been done, but dealing with our weather from the beginning
Right,
was
right,
terrible. I couldn't do anything because the pieces are so
right.
big. I'm working outside.
Excuse me. So
Yeah.
I know you probably can't tell us or describe to us any of the pieces because they've not been unveiled yet. But if you were able to tell us, you're talking about how that art must have a story or should be telling a story. Is there a story that you could tell us for any one of the pieces or the story that interconnects the pieces?
I believe that this the whole story about this the hero within. So what most of these pieces, what you'll be able to look at is the eyes of
Mm,
the art individual. Because I believe that the eyes tell a very, very great story. So with one of the art pieces is a young boy.
mm,
He looks very innocent, but he has on a mask. And he looks like I call him the innocent hero, the one you wouldn't expect to come in and save a day is the one that has the mask on. So each one of these murals will interface from a young person to an older person, from a young person to an older person. So it's the transition of a hero.
interesting, interesting. So why does this visibility matter so much? What happens to a child when they see themselves reflected as heroic?
I mean, I don't know about you, man. When I was a kid, I used to think when I would watch Power
Power Ranger,
Rangers, I thought
yes,
I was a Power Ranger.
yes.
So when I saw Superman or Spider-Man, I did the
Mm,
things that I saw. So now I would walk around with my hands on my hip and my
mm,
chest poked out, and I would tell my mama,
mm,
I'ma save the day because I saw it. And I think that we have to understand what some children
right,
see they want to become. I would rather you see a hero than you to see a rapper or a person who
right.
got on all of these chains because social media makes us think that all the things that we are seeing is what we should do and what we should be. Disrespectful, doing drugs,
Mm,
chasing after the tag, trying to secure a bag. Um, so I believe that the younger they can see it, the more effective that it'll be in their minds. And especially me, I always say that large art has more of an impact than small art. So imagine you walking in the community and you see 4 10 feet by 10 feet
I
or
stop.
10 by 10 paintings
I
that's
stop.
over
I have
towering
to look
you.
at it.
You would, I believe that it would grab a part of an individual. To every morning, this is a
Yeah,
street that they want to walk down. And the more you walk past it, the more you get encouraged. I don't, how many artists are going to be in that community that will believe that, hey,
yeah,
one day I could put a painting
yeah.
in a community.
Yeah. No, that that
So
that,
yeah,
that yeah. I think I remember I saw a piece in I was in Paris a few years ago, and I saw a piece. It's a mural of an older lady, an elderly lady actually, and you could see the little wisp of hair uh, laying on her shoulder, and every single wrinkle is painted in. So there's no attempt to
yeah,
Sephora or to Oil of Olay away her wrinkles. And she's smiling a big smile. She's
yeah,
missing a few teeth, but she's smiling a big, beautiful smile with a bow on her head. I can't remember the name of the painting, but I couldn't help but stop because it was huge. I stopped and I looked at it from top to bottom, from side to side, and and it's still I took a picture of it because I wanted to keep it. I wanted to take it with me, and I couldn't figure out what
Yeah,
it was saying to me, what it was doing to me, but I knew enough to know that it was saying something and that I needed to hold on to it for as long as I needed to until I understood what it was saying. And part of this conversation is
yeah,
again helping me figure out what was that piece saying to me? What is that piece saying to me? And hopefully, I think what's going to happen with your huge murals is that people are going to every day get an opportunity to look at this and figure out, where am I in this? What is this saying to me? What is this story? Where am I in this story? I think there's some really interesting pieces of introspection and exploration that are going to happen. When I think about what you're doing in the general scheme of things, and thinking about it from the point of view of this being the Black Fathers Pulse podcast, there's something fatherly as well about what you're doing. You're seeing children, you're believing in them, you're reflecting their potential back to
yeah,
them. Do you see it that way as
yeah.
well?
I do. Don't know why I've been given that opportunity. I'm still trying to figure out. But I do see it as part of, like, I think of every kid that I've encountered as like my child. Um, that's my daughter, that's my son. And I call him that, you know what I mean? Because that's just um the space that I see them in, and then that's how I feel when I see them and encounter them. So, you know, I definitely feel that when I come in contact with some of my children. Um, and don't let it be where I haven't seen them in a long time, and we finally make a mistake and come into the space of each other. Oh yeah, it's like I was the dad that went
Right,
off to war. But let me say something, man, about
right.
that piece that you just talked about. I think that that piece that you just described, I think that there are a lot of us that, like when you said, no skin over leg, no trying to wash away the wrinkles. I think that there are a lot of us that are
Yeah,
scared to
yeah.
get to that point and don't know how to accept the gift of getting older. So when you see this lady with these wrinkles that are not hidden, with this smile and her teeth are missing, she is loving who she is and who she becoming. To me, the bow represents a gift. It's a gift in getting older. It's a gift in getting gray hair and wrinkles, and we look at it
Right,
as a
right.
scary part, but it's really a blessing to be able to be a certain age. And I think that we run away from the space of becoming older, that God wants us to accept those spaces as well as we get
Yeah,
older. Accept the wrinkles, accept the gray hair, accept the
right,
teeth that may miss. Because in all actuality,
right,
you're a
right.
piece of art that continues to move and evolve throughout life. And it's a gift that he's given us. So I love the fact that you just broke that down. And that's what I just felt like God was telling me. Like, accept these spaces
Awesome.
that you're about to go into. Accept the age
That's
numbers
great.
and all of
So
that.
how,
So
I know you, how do you want the community to respond to your art, and how do you want your community? How do you want communities to support artists like you?
it's for me, it's very easy. I want the community to respond to my art the way that they respond. I don't have an expectation of how they should respond. The art will make them respond the way that they should respond, because art has its own movement, its life within itself. So I, as an artist, get to sit back and watch, how do you respond to this art piece? Is it gonna make somebody smile? Is somebody just
Right.
gonna walk past and be like, I don't care? You know what I mean? To me, that tells me, hey, I might need to step up partial of the painting, or make the painting a little bit more interesting. The way that I want a community to support is to respect the art.
Right.
Don't scratch it up. Don't spray paint on it. Don't tear it down. Um, Value it just as much as I value it. You know what I mean? And that's how I want the art or the community to respond to that
Excellent.
art piece when they see it. Because every once in a
Right.
while, I'm gonna
Right.
drive by and look at it.
Right.
I'm gonna come and check on it. I'm
Right.
gonna look.
Good.
It's my baby, so I'm gonna come and make sure that that
Right.
thing is
So,
okay.
our final
Yeah,
question: what do you want the world to know about black children in Chicago?
that we are not what the news depicts us as. I think that Chicago has had a painted face of
Mm,
being this jungle where every, and I don't want to say every, but where you have
right, right.
teen takeovers and teens dying left and right. And that is not what Chicago and what young black individuals are. What I do want those who come into contact to see is that, Chicago has smart young individuals, those who are heroes who can
Yeah,
potentially be your next teacher, your next doctor,
yeah.
who can be your next hero, who could be your next artist, your next podcast introducer. You know what I mean? I want individuals to know that what you see on TV isn't really what is in our communities on our everyday lives. So I want individuals just to take that, you know what I mean? And hopefully that's what I'll display
That
through
sounds
these art
excellent. Thank you
pieces.
so much, Richard, for joining us. It was a real pleasure to hear the inspiration behind your work, to hear what you're doing with the kids in Chicago, with the black families in Chicago, and I look forward to seeing more of your art, and of course, definitely seeing when those murals come out. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, sir.
Our children are not problems to be solved. They are heroes to be celebrated, and every day they prove it. Richard McNeil is changing the walls of Chicago. He's changing what's possible. He's showing black boys, black children, black families their own heroism by picking up a brush and adjusting the narrative. Thank you so much, Richard.
Appreciate you.
Man, I love these conversations. Thank you so much for being here. If this episode hits you, if you want more, follow us. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's build this community together. The Chicago series of the Black Father's Pulse is made possible by the generous support of the Field Foundation. Music by Micaiah De Silva. Opinions shared on this podcast are those of the host or the guest and are in no way affiliated with the universities of Wisconsin. New episodes drop every week. You don't want to miss the next voice. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. This is the Black Father's Pulse.